Orbspec creative thinking since 2017. There is a reason why companies excel in sales. The reason is that they utilize the psychology behind buying. And in sales, success isn't just about what you sell, it's about why people buy. Emotions drive decisions long before logic steps in. Therefore, build connection before conversion. Understand that trust is the currency of conversion. That is why people buy when they feel safe. Give first, gain later. Should be front of mind. Create scarcity to increase value. People want what feels exclusive, and never forget, people buy to belong. It is important to show proof and show results. Transforming how you sell by understanding why people buy. Contact Russell for more information.
Good morning, everybody. Great video there. I hope everyone could hear it properly because I was like, it was a bit echoey for me. But guys, fantastic to be here another Thursday morning, and here we are at Vision 2025. It's nearly the end of the year. Can you believe this? It's this year's just gone so quickly. We started at the beginning of the year with Vision 2025. Next year is going to be Vision 2026. So we're looking forward to being here every Thursday for you so that you can learn more, learn from experts, and understand how to be better in business. So today we've got a really special guest. One of our co-hosts is going to be presenting, Russell. Russell is an expert at sales, and he's going to be telling us a little bit more about the psychology of sales. But before we do that, let's quickly introduce our team, and let's introduce Glenn. Glenn, would you like to introduce yourself? Morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and great to be on board again. Always look forward to Thursday mornings. It's really great fun, and looking forward to what Russell has to say today. I think so many of us think, oh, that's for salespeople, but I think we are all salespeople. We need to sell ourselves all the time to everyone around us, so it's really important. Glenn is Jones, Mentors Coaching. I do life and business coaching. I love to call myself your personal locksmith, simply because I love to unlock the potential that's inside you and help you step into destiny. And that's me. Thanks so much, David. Back to you.
Great to have you here, Glenn. Good, very good. I would like now to introduce Wilhelm Lombard, a good old friend who's also been on this journey with us. Both Glenn and Wilhelm and I started this in 2023. Can you believe that? At the end of 2023, we decided, let's do something to give back to the community. And that's what we're here to do. So we did it in 2024 and 2025, and we're going into 2026 strong. Wilhelm, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, David, and all the rest of the team. Yes, it's an opportunity, or it's great to be here on the show every now and then. And I can't wait to hear what Russell has to say today. What I do, I help leaders and teams unlock their full potential by improving leadership quality, mastering stress, and building trust-driven high-performance cultures. Using brain dominance, communication styles, and team play assessment tools, I show businesses how to align their strengths, prevent burnout, and 10x performance. Whether you're scaling or struggling, I help build a team that works better together.
Fantastic. Welcome, Wilhelm. Good to have you here. And a little bit about myself. My name is David Barr. I'm here to give you a voice, and that's what I'm doing on Vision 2025. I also do that through other means. I have a thing called One eSIM Africa, where we give you global connectivity, so you can actually connect with anyone, anywhere in the world, using local data within that country. And it's all very, very easy to actually set up on your phone and use it. You don't need to go to the shops to buy an eSIM. I also do I'm a bid architect, which means I write bids for you and I win tenders for you. So that's what I do. But let's stop talking about me. Let's talk about Russell. So Russell has been on our show as a co-host for nearly, over a year now. And it's really a pleasure to have Russell. Russell always gives such a lot of intellect and, always good insights into the show. And it's really a pleasure to actually hear what Russell has to say about sales, because that's his specialty. So Russell, I'm going to hand over the mic to you, and let's learn a little bit more about the psychology of sales. Over to you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Thank you, co-hosts, and obviously to the people out there that are watching. I think if you don't mind, David, would you just share the presentation and I can take it from there. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. I want to start off with about sales, and I'm going to make a statement which I think most people will never or very seldom have heard, and that is that sales is not about selling a product. It's about understanding people. The analogy I want to draw to this is it's like a good marriage. A good marriage succeeds because there's the understanding of the needs and there's great communication, and I'm emphasizing great communication. Why people buy and why they don't buy is what I want to explore in this session with you. And after 35 years of being in sales and being sold to, I started realizing, but wait a minute, sales is not something, because I grew up in an environment where I was told that salesmen are born, and I was a natural salesperson because I'm an extrovert and so on. Yet as a child, I grew up as an introvert. Yet as a child, I didn't really speak. So I started saying, but wait a minute, there's something to this. And that's what started me on this journey of understanding sales. So the psychology of sales is just one element, but it's a very important element. That if you understand the psychology behind sales and you can see the triggers that your client is showing, you will be able to understand what is your route to go. So I want to give you a real example of why this is so important. South Africa's economy in 2024 was $410 billion. Now, if we just look at that, we say, wow, that's a lot of money. But Apple's net worth is 3.6 or 3.16 trillion. That means that Apple's 1.5 months of turnover is our South African economy. How did they do that? How does Apple manage to do a greater turnover and a net worth than a country's economy? And they use the psychology. So this is what Apple does. They use these 6 triggers, or not triggers, psychological elements to create their sales. And I have gone and taken this and put it into our presentation today so we can describe that a little bit. There it is. It's actually quite a basic understanding of human nature. So the first one we're going to talk about is the power of perception. Power of perception is that people buy with emotion, and then later on they will justify that buy with logic. So it's buying a dress, for example, or a suit, and saying, wow, you know, you're buying this because it's beautiful, it looks good on you, it makes you feel good. So it's all of those emotions. And then when you walk away and you've spent, let's say, 10,000, 15,000 on the suit, or a good couple of thousand rand on a dress, you walk away and you say, you know, I'll work hard. You know, I deserve this. You know, I look good like this. I will look good for my husband in this. And that's how we go and justify this. The insight in this is that if you can create that emotional element first, and you can use it by telling stories, you can use it by visual elements, in using empathy when you're talking now in a sales pitch, for example. That type of connection that you build with a client. So, for example, you'll sit in front of a client, and the client's pain point is, let's say, for example, staff turnaround is high. You know, so you don't then just go say, you know, well, you know, your staff turnover is high because your management style sucks. You know, you'd rather go and start off with saying, gee, you know, I can understand that must weigh heavy burden on your shoulders type of thing. You know, have you thought about why your sales turnover is so high? So you don't go straight for the pain point and a solution. You actually start having empathy, start having a discussion. And that will lead you to the next one, and that is trust and credibility. So trust is the currency of conversion. Think about it. Just go back and look at maybe if you've bought a house. You know, did you trust the agent that you bought the house with? Going to a dealership to buy a car. I've heard of a guy a little while ago. He walked into Mercedes-Benz and he wanted to buy, and I'm a big Merc fan, so when I heard this, it was difficult for me to believe. And he walked into this Mercedes agency, and he just didn't feel comfortable. You know, it wasn't like the guys were giving him the attention he wanted. He had a certain budget to buy a vehicle, and a high-end Mercedes, not entry level. And he walked out, and his next best was BMW just around the corner. He went into BMW, bought the car, and when they delivered the car, he went back to Mercedes-Benz and said, "Guys, this is what I wanted. I wanted a high-end motor vehicle, and you guys didn't serve me." So trust is vital for your client to buy from you. And it's not just trust for the product. It's trust knowing that after I've bought the product, there will be a after-sales service. There will still be a, let's call it a connection, where I've got the freedom to be able to come to you and say, "I'm not happy," or "I've got a problem." So trust is very, very important. Most buyers, like I've written there, say yes when they feel safe and not just about the liking of the product. If we look at, for example, the data and the features and that type of stuff with the product, that is the vehicle. But the vehicle is not what's important. What's important for you is to identify what the pain point is and a solution to the pain point. So you don't, with trust and credibility, you build the understanding that you know where he is, you know where he wants to go. And when you've emphasized that and he says, "Wait, this guy's listening, he understands what I'm talking about," then you offer the vehicle. Now the vehicle doesn't become the focus point. The solution, the outcome becomes the focus point. And that's what trust and credibility will bring. Give me a second and drink some water. The principle of reciprocity. So it's always give first and gain later. What the modern, and I don't want to call them salespeople, but what modern salespeople do is they go and they will go straight for the jugular. They'll go, "This is the best product, you need this product," and then a lot of times they break other products down, and they just want to get this sale. They focus on that. And people today, I think back in the day when we had the door-to-door salesman, I love that mentality, because those guys got more no's than what they got yeses. But what they started doing, and there's a good case study with Encyclopedia, what Encyclopedia started to do was to train this door-to-door salespeople to start talking about the encyclopedia as an element of a knowledge gain for the children. And what they did was they started giving insight. Your child can learn this, your child can learn that. So that's giving before asking for the sale, as an example. It's maybe not a great example, but that is where it started. For a lot of you that are consultants, having that first session where you just go and have a meeting and listen to what the points are that they are battling with and coming up with little suggestions can later lead to the sale. So what I do specifically when I do business consultation is I have a date, or we call it a coffee date with a networking event, but I have a meeting and I try and do it in an environment where it's not too official, more of a laid-back environment, and then have a discussion, so what is it that you're battling with your company? I'm battling with this. Okay. Have you thought about doing that? Now, remember, as a consultant, your IP is where you make your money, but I'm giving a little bit of ideas so I can gain that trust, so I can gain the client saying, "Wait a minute, this guy listens, he actually understands my business." And the insights that you can share, or those little resources, an ebook, just a message. After I left your premises, I was thinking of this idea. Could this maybe work if you do this? And send it on an email, for example. What you're doing is you're showing your client that subconsciously, remember, you're showing your client that, it's not about the money. It's actually about the service. It's actually about what you bring to the table. And that's vitally important when you do those little gifts, those little shares that can give them value. Remember, you don't give your whole IP away, but you trigger thought. And what you want is you want the client to say, "Wow, you know what? I didn't think about that. Maybe we should have a discussion about that." And that's when you start getting through the door and when you start the game. Scarcity effect is something that Apple uses brilliantly. So for those of you who do have iPhones and so on and follow the Apple, let's call it cult almost, because that's what it is. And I'm a Mac fan. I've got everything is Apple with me. So, I've done a lot of research on them because I think as a company, they do things right. It's amazing that when they launched the new iPhone, that for 2 days before, now in America, not here in South Africa, I haven't seen it, but for 2 days before, people camp out by the front door of the Apple store, waiting for that launch. I've heard of people sitting for 4 days. Go and Google it on YouTube, where people have sat for like 4 days waiting for those doors to open so they can be first to get the new iPhone. So there's a couple of things here that Apple uses. Number one is I'm the first to get it. So that's kind of like part of your identity, which is what they use a lot, is creating your identity. The other thing that they do is they create a lot of scarcity. They create an effect of us believing that we have to get that now because it's going to run out. Apple will never run out of phones. Never, ever will they run out of phones. But their marketing and the way they talk and the way they prepare you for the new launch, they use that scarcity effect brilliantly. So we, as when we sell courses and stuff like that, the only 3 spots left type of thing is, now I'm giving away our secrets, but that all valid until Friday. That is what we're talking about, the scarcity. What's also happening now, and we'll see it, is the whole Black Friday. Black Friday thing is really starting to heat up. And that's a scarcity effect because you're going to get a very, very good price, but only this once. Scarcity also creates your a client to start asking the internal questions of how can I get this? How do I budget for this? I need to do this as soon as possible because we're not going to get this chance again. And that leads you to the sale being actually almost won, because now you're getting the whole FOMO effect. And it creates urgency and increase of demand. So Apple uses it well. I think there's a couple of other companies that use it well, but I enjoy the Apple example or the case study. The need to belong is so important. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand the psychology. Sales is not always about the product. It's about identity. So question that I want to ask, why does a person go and buy a Mercedes-Benz, as an example, for, let's say, 1.5 mil, or he could buy something like a VW Passat, which gives exactly all the same elements at 900,000, for example? It's about the brand. It's about belonging to the brand. And when he drives the car, he has a certain identity. Nike is a very, very, very strong. Apple's another one, but Nike is very, very strong. When you look at the Just Do It campaign that they did in 1987, there around, or 1988, if I'm not mistaken, the whole concept behind that Just Do It was not about just putting on the clothing, but it's about just doing part of the community. They created a Just Do It mindset within athletes and fitness people that actually filtered over to people that couldn't wear a T-shirt because they weren't athletes, but they wanted to be part of that Just Do It culture. Good campaigns and good marketing strategies is based around the psychology of bringing people into a herd, bringing them into a tribe, bringing them into a community. And the community is the brand. And the important thing about that is you can do it even as a small company, because what you do is you create an environment where your client can be part of a bigger picture. And that is where the belonging is so important. People want to be part of something, so they buy to be part of something, because you can go to the Chinese store down the corner and buy a white T-shirt that's relatively good quality, or go to a store that's got a brand that you don't know. Yet you will go and spend 2 to 3 times higher price on a different shirt, because when you're walking around and you're wearing the tick on your chest and you see other people with a tick on your chest, there's commonality. There's something there that connects. And these brands, the big brands, have actually utilized that better than most other company, or both their competitors. That's where I want to go. Sorry, do you want to go to the next slide? Social proof is probably one of the most vital elements that's not being used. How many of you have actually gone to your clients and said, give me a testament of what my service has meant to you. Give me a referral. Give me a, because remember, referrals are social proof. Referrals is, hi, Jack, I got your number from George. He said that you would be interested in my service. That is social proof. And social proof should be on all of our communication to our clients. Social proof is also good, and you'll see I've made a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek there, is, Peter Pan achieved 30% sales growth in 90 days. That is social proof, but don't window dress. Call it what it is. If Peter Pan only did 30%, don't go and say 33%. Because the world is a very small place, and technology allows so many people the ability to go and do the research. Stats have shown that the average buyer does more research now than what they did 5 years ago. We're only talking about 5 years. They do more intellectual research, because you've got stuff like AI now, which allows a lot of thinking for you in a matter of seconds. So you have to be careful with your social proof, that your social proof is, number one, authentic, but number two, that it gives your potential client the value that he needs. So you have to align it with him. You can't go and say, for example, you consulting or you selling to a person that is, let's say he's in engineering, and you say, well, Jack from the fresh produce market increased his business by so much. The guy's going to say, yeah, but okay, fresh produce is different than my engineering. So you have to make it relevant, make it, keep it in line. And if you don't have something that is in line, then don't do it. Then just say, on average, my clients get. Still social proof, but you are not aligning it with his business. You're actually bringing it into the foreground that your services or your product or whatever can have this outcome, and it has to be outcome based. I think that is my slide, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So just to round up, or to kind of like consolidate everything, is that these elements are not the only elements. There are a lot of other techniques that you can utilize. And I've got a lot of studies on this stuff. I've got a lot of workbooks that I've done with these different psychological systems or psychological techniques. But these basic strategies are definitely designed to create an opportunity for you to be able to read between the lines. Body language, for example. I used to train my salespeople that don't sit too far forward in the client space. Sit back, give the, if you're sitting, for example, opposite the desk, give space so that he doesn't feel like you are encroaching on his environment. But when he moves forward, stop selling. When he starts moving forward, or his body language opens, or he says something like, wow, that's actually quite a good idea, stop selling. Then you go into the closing. And you have to know how to close with this client, because otherwise you're going to miss the deal. What we tend to do as salespeople is we try and oversell, and we sell and we sell, because we just want to get this guy to say yes. But the yes is not in the selling. The yes is actually comes when it's trust. When the guy sees that he can trust you, then the yes will come. It's not about the product. But as soon as those triggers are seen, you need to stop selling, and then you go to closing. The psychology of sales for me is the most vital element of my sales training that I do. I do a lot of focus on that. I use the techniques that is like closing, like creating your avatar meaning your ideal client, and then seeing how the psychology works for those clients. The last thing I want to say before I ask one question is that your research has to be spot on. You cannot go to a potential client without doing research of the client. You have to understand the ins and outs of the client. I'm talking about the business. If you can find out about the person, and stuff like LinkedIn helps a lot. We can go on. I do that. I go and stalk clients. I'm going to see a client just now at 11 o'clock. And I spent a good 2.5 hours yesterday stalking them. I've gone and looked at exactly how they do business. I've gone and looked at where they are failing with their business. For example, this specific client has got a multitude of product, and what they sell is they sell a lot of emotion-based stories to gain an emotional footage with the client, but they don't sell outcome. Now, I've identified this already. I've now already gone and looked at a basic sales strategy, not to sell it today, but the basic sales strategies that I've got in the back of my mind so that I can have a conversation and lead to that. Ask the leading questions so I can get the right answers, so I can then go back and do a correct proposal. So the psychology of sales for me is vital. And I'm finished with my presentation, and I hope that this was of some worth to you. But lastly, I want to ask you a question, and the question is, would you buy from you? And be objective, not subjective. Thanks, David. Thanks, hosts. Can't hear, Dave. You're muted.
There we are, now I'm unmuted. All right, so yeah, that's a fantastic question there, Russell. I'm going to buy for myself. And I think the answer there would be no. Because I think there's an element of having belief in oneself and the product that you have. And I think when you have that belief, you actually come through, basically, it actually comes out of you. It's part of how you actually present yourself. I think that's so important. It's about getting really excited, because if you're excited about the product that you're selling, the other person is also going to get excited. It's going to rub off, But I love what you were saying.
Sorry, I just want to add something I just want to add on something you said there that's very important. I call it the sales love triangle. So in the bottom sphere, number one is you have to love yourself. You have to believe in yourself. That excitement that you're talking about. The second part on that same plane is you have to love your product. You have to know your product inside and out. You have to sleep, eat, and breathe it, and passionately really feel that this is something that you want to sell. It's part of who you are. It's part of your DNA. And then the top part is your client. You have to love your client. And loving your client is not taking money from your client. Loving your client is solving a problem. Yes, at a price, but solving a problem, his problem. And that's exactly what you were alluding to there.
I love that. The love triangle of sales.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, one of the experiences I had when you were talking was about many years ago. I used to be a BMW fan. And my dad was a BMW fan. My dad only bought BMWs. And at one time, I think we had 4 BMWs in the garage. So I was like, I always had BMWs. My second car was a BMW. My third car was a BMW. And then I wanted to get my 4th car. And I went to I live in Pretoria. So I went to the local dealership here. And I saw a car that I wanted. And I was going overseas. So I put a deposit down on the car, and I said, okay, I want that car, that specific car, I want that, I'm going to put a deposit down. So I put a deposit down. I went overseas. When I came back, I was really excited. I wanted the car. I went to the garage to go and get the car and pay the balance and what have you. And the guy said, no, we sold it. Well, you know what? I haven't owned a BMW since then. I was so disillusioned. I was like, why do you do this? I paid you the money. You had the money in your account. Why did you do it? So BMW lost me as a client. And I mean, that was a number of years ago. I bought a number of other cars since then. And BMW has lost me forever. So a trust point was broken.
Yeah.
And, that's it. And I wonder how many times in our own businesses we actually do that, where we actually disappoint a client in some way, that we've worked hard to get them, we've done some work for them, we've shown that we are capable, and then we do something, we say something, and it's lost. And I'll give you another example of that. We're doing a presentation quite some time ago, and I'm talking about 2000, that time. And during the presentation, one of the presenters said something. that was not right. It wasn't politically correct. Well, guess what? We're probably the best bidder for that process, but guess what? We didn't win it. So it's so important to keep that trust with your client. I love that, and it really resonated with me. But I'm going to ask. Go on.
No, I just want to say the sad thing about your BMW experience is that the brand lost you. That guy is probably not even there anymore. He's probably moved on somewhere else. And that's the importance of having the right people to look after your brand, because that is what you're doing. You're not just selling a product, you're selling your brand.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go to Glenn and ask Glenn what his takeaways and to answer the question that Russell asked. Glenn, over to you.
Thanks, David. And thanks, Russell. I appreciate that. It was really great. Interesting, just to come back to the BMW story, if you had to take that further and continue to build on the relationship, which is what you're meant to do, whether that salesperson is there or not, the company BMW should actually be following up with their clients' previous sales and actually making the phone call to you, David, and saying, hi, would you like to come chat to us? And you go, never want to deal with you again. Then they need to discuss things with you and say, can we sit over a cup of coffee and take it further? You know what I mean? To really build that trust again, which takes time, but that's what one has to do. For myself, I think the question has been answered already in what Russell said about really belief in yourself. There's certain things that I'm passionate about, and I don't have a problem with it. And yes, I will buy for myself. Others, not so good at all, and I'll have this out of the town. You know what I mean? And I suppose that's with everyone. But yeah, I just love this. Once again, I always like to take things and put it into how can I put this? Not in a one-word description, but just to describe the whole concept. And I think you've mentioned it already, Russ, and it is about that. It's all about relationships. If I go through these points, it all links to relationship. And at the end of the day, it's building that relationship with people, not just in sales, but in everything. Whether it's marriage, whether it's your kids, whatever it is, it's about relationships. And if people just begin to understand that, and not take offense and not throw their toys at the cot, and it just fascinates me how so many people break relationships and break trust with people because of some stupid argument or some stupid concept or some stupid thing they've heard, and the relationship's broken, and they don't want to talk to each other again, and it just fascinates me. And it's really sad. But I think what you're talking about, Russell, this whole psychology of sales, I think it's such an important aspect that so many of us need to go through this and actually use it and apply it in our marriages and with our children and with our friendships. You know what I mean? So for me, it goes far further than just a sale. Yeah. But thank you. That was.
I love what you're saying there, Glenn, because you are selling yourself in every single situation. When you meet someone new at a braai, the whole what do you do, where do you come from, your story is your sales pitch. And to build the right relationship through your story is so important. And I believe that the psychology, and you've hit the nail on the head, psychology of sales is actually psychology of life in a certain aspect. Every person you come in contact with. I try and live by a motto of leaving someone better than what I met them, adding something valuable. Even just the guys that serve us at the restaurant when we go on date night, we build relationships with these guys. Now, when we walk in there after a few years, we've been going there on Thursday nights, we get hugged hello by all the waiters and the security. It's building, it's trying to leave someone in a better spot, just with a smile, with a shoulder tap, just, a kind word. And I think that's what you are talking about. Thanks for that. That's good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Russell. Well, Helen, what is your takeaway, and how would you answer Russell's question?
Yeah, David, thank you for this. I don't know what's going on here, but for some reason my connection is not so fine, so I can't hear everything that you guys say. I don't know if it's from my side. I hope you can hear me. But yeah, remember, can you hear me well?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. I remember when I first started with selling, I was selling this AMC Classic cookware. Now, I did very well, and that's a quite expensive product, you know, and I learned there that it's not a price, and you really, you know, we talk about, okay, we work on demonstration, so you show them, you cook the food, and people touch the pots, you know. We talk about the puppy dog method. You hand it over to the people, they feel the pot and everything, and how easy it is to clean it. So selling is always, it's so exciting. And I think the most important thing, what Russell also said, is that you must really believe in your product. And Glenn also mentioned that if you are so excited about your product, you know, there's a vibe. I'm also a heart math coach, and there's some heart energy that before even people talk to one another, there's some communication that happen between people. And it's always interesting for me as well. Maybe Russell can answer that question again. You know, you got two salespeople. They start at the same time. They got the same training and everything. The one guy is successful, and the other one is just not successful. Now, I believe it's that heart energy, that vibe that you actually send out before you even talk, and that's why people just connect with you better. So you must be pure in your heart. Your heart must be okay. Your emotions must be okay. And I also find now, those days, a couple of years back, then sometimes your sales is just not what it should be, and you just can't make the sale. And I always say, you get this green dragon eyes, you know. People feel that you want to make a sale, and then they just don't buy. So it's so important to get your heart right. But Russell, thank you. That was great, and maybe you can talk more about the heart energy, maybe even. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the love triangle for me comes in, because it's that self-belief. You know, when you really believe in yourself, and with my salespeople, I used to say to them when I ran sales teams, I said, when you lock the door at home, even before you walk to the car to drive to work, make sure your ego is inside. You don't bring your ego to work. Because with sales, you get more no's than what you get yeses. I haven't met any salesperson, and if they say they've got a 100% strike rate, I would question it, because you do get no's. The no's are the ones that actually gives you the blood nose and plays with your ego and makes you feel incompatible and makes your product not look good. And that's why you have to absolutely 100% love yourself. And when I say love yourself, I'm not talking about being arrogant. I'm talking about believing in who you are, believing in your capabilities. You know what? The Creator has given you a mind, He's given you hands, He's given you feet, He's given you eyes, He's given you a mouth, He's given you whatever you need to be able to do whatever you do, and believe in that. You know, when I think about it this way, who just picked up a cup? Was it you, David, that picked up a cup to drink? Oh, Glenn. Yeah. Did you think about picking up that cup? No, you know, it's just a natural instinct. And I think that is where good salespeople get to be naturally good at what they do, because they've got that self-belief. My wife always says that, you know, I've got the smooth mouth, I can sell to anybody and so on. But it's years and years and years of being in sales and different types of people that I've sold to, where I've gotten to just be able to react on what I sense. And that's what you're talking about. So the reverse is also important, Valalam. The reverse is that you need to be sensitive to the energy that comes from the client. The best lesson I ever got was a general manager from Goodyear Tires when I was in the tire game as a youngster. He was actually from overseas. He was doing training in South Africa, and they took him to different dealerships. And at that stage, we were one of the top branches in Gauteng. I was just a counter salesperson. But my manager worked on the floor, and I did all the sales. He was a crap salesman. He was arrogant, and he was bombastic, and he was just an aggressive guy. So we didn't get sales when he was behind the counter. And you could actually see it. If I had a day off, the sales went like this. When I was there, sales went. But we worked well together, because on the floor, he made things happen. This was in the fitment industry. And this guy came in, and we were talking, and he says to me, so how do you relate to people that are bombastic or arrogant when they walk in inside? So I said, oh, I don't know. I just try and sell to him. He says, the best tip I can give you is treat them the way they treat you. I thought, what?
Mm.
Yeah. And he said, so if a guy comes in and says, and doesn't greet you, I want a price on tires. Well, what tire would you like? You connect with him straight away because you're on the same energy as him. And I tried it. And you know what? That is what made me successful in a lot of ways. Now, it's not, I'm over exaggerating my example. But what he showed me was try and understand, and specifically in South Africa, because in the tire market, we get taxi owners that come in and taxi drivers, and they are different. You know, they're not the white-collared business person that comes in with a Mercedes-Benz. These guys talk different. So what I started doing was I started being a chameleon and adapting to them. So when they come in and they like got this swagger, you know, I don't go walk all firm and strong and stuff. I just walk naturally to him and put my hand out. How are you, brother? And do all the things, and straight away there's this connection. So that is very important. What you're talking about, the energy. As it's number one, obviously send out the correct energy, but number two, be sensitive of the energy. And if you can be sensitive of what that energy is with that client, you connect a lot quicker with them. So thanks for that. That's brilliant. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest gem today. Connect them with the energy that they've come to you with. I think that is just a fantastic gem. And you're absolutely right, because I mean, even myself, you know, sometimes I'm in a rush and I want to get things done, and then you know, and then the person, hi, how are you doing? And that puts me off, you know, because I'm like, okay, I want this done. I need it now. I need it like straight away. You know, like for example, I need to go and buy envelopes now for this one tender I'm doing right now, and I know I'm going to go in there and I want the product. I want the envelope to fit, you know, for the tender, and I'm not going to really want to be nice and how are you? How's the day? How, you know, how's the kids? I don't want that. I want the envelope. So I love that. Connect with the energy of the other person. Love it. Great, guys. You know, we're nearly running out of time here. So I'd really like to first of all thank Russell for coming and sharing these tips. You know, the thing is, you know, we hear this. We hear, you know, every week we have somebody here come and they talk about certain things. The question that I have for you is, do you actually take away the gems and actually apply it in your own business? Do you actually do that? Because, you know, just by taking what Russell has shared with us today, go and apply it, even if it's just one step at a time. Apply it, and there will be a newsletter after this, so you can go along, and if you haven't written down the notes that Russell gave us, it will be in the newsletter, so just go along and subscribe to that and join that. But if you want to get hold of Russell, I see he's put his number there. Russell, let's just present this. I'm just going to do the slide again, and you can just there's Russell's details at the bottom. Please connect with Russell. You can see his cell phone number and his email address and his website, Orbspec. Go and connect with him. And what I normally do is ask for one word. So wait, there is some questions coming through. Let's just see. Paul says, Paul's got a great question here. Thanks, Paul. Paul says, where does a product owner fit into the sales love triangle? Russell, maybe you want to just quickly address that one.
The product owner would probably, depending on which way you look at it, because a lot of people that are owning the company and so on, they are selling themselves. But if they've got salespeople, the product owner is the product. Remember, your product is your brand. Your product is representing, let's say that, is representing your brand. And the owner, the product owner or the company owner, he owns that brand. So he is represented by that. If you've got a sales team, that's what they call representatives. They represent you. They represent your business, they represent your brand, and they represent you. So the product owner is not out of the triangle. The product owner is actually a vital part in the triangle because it's actually the bottom level. It's part of that. It's part of the foundation. And that's what I like about the example of the love triangle, is if the foundation is strong, the legs going up to the client. Because remember, the two legs, there's two legs there. The one is you, building trust, building selling, but the other one is the credibility of the product. So that all lies at the bottom.
Thank you. Thank you, Russell, for that. Thanks, Paul, for the question there. I see Carol's also put Carol says, great.
Thank you, Carol.
Carol says, great presentation discussions. Thanks, Carol. Great. If you have any questions for Russell, please post them on or get hold of Russell. Let's quickly just go around the room. I just want to ask each person their big takeaway from today and what they're going to apply today in their business. So let's start with Glenn. What's your big takeaway and what you're going to apply?
I'll give 3 words: passion, drive, call to action.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Well, Helen, what are you going to do? Well, Helen?
Give first and reap later, né? Get later. Give first and get later.
Yeah, gain later. Yeah.
No, that's true. And and from my side, I think connect with the energy of the other, and I think that's something that's really important to realize and to but also at the same time to be kind. I think being kind is a really, really important thing in whatever you do. Russell, what is your big takeaway and what is your last bit of advice? And Tatu, thanks very much for your message there. You are the product is you. Love that. Thank you so much for your feedback there. Russell, over to you. What's your big takeaway and what's your advice for us all to go along in action today in our own businesses?
My takeaway is every time I do these type of presentations, I just keep on reminding myself the importance of the client. Yes, I don't like the cliche that the client is always right, because he's not. I think the big focus point must be to identify what the client needs, not what he wants. And that is part of the love process. That is, the client is the reason why we exist. Someone said, a very dear friend of mine still today, he said, if you don't have a market, you don't have a product. So your market is important, and take care of that market and look after that market, because then you've got a product. So that's my 2 cents worth for closing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, we'll be back next week, so thank you so much. Mona Ruth is going to be presenting. She's going to be talking about something really important, and that is about ensuring your own brand. So that's going to be really exciting to listen to. So come and join us next week. There will be a newsletter. We'll be posting that also early next week. And there's also a newsletter for Wilhelm's presentation that was last week. So guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you that are listening. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Tatu. Thanks, Paul. And all the other listeners that have been listening today. Thank you. And remember always to come and join us on a Thursday morning and let others know about what we're doing. This is all about us giving back to our community, which is you. So thank you so much. Thanks, Russell. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. Thank you, Glenn. And thanks for Wilhelm. And take care, and we'll see you next week. Have a fantastic week and go and apply something that you learned today. Thank you very much. And Andre has just said thank you too. Thank you, Andre. Great to have you here. Thank you so much. All right. Ciao, guys. Enjoy the video. Bye.
Orbspec Sales Masterclass, transforming potential into performance. Sales is the heartbeat of any organization. Every company sells something. In sales, success isn't about luck. It's about mastery. And mastery begins with understanding people. The cliche, people buy from people, has truth. Understanding who your client is an absolute must. The Sales Masterclass by Orbspec isn't just training, it's transformation. Across 11 powerful workbooks, we teach you how to think, feel, and perform like a sales leader. You'll uncover the psychology behind buying decisions, build trust that lasts, and master persuasive communication that drives results. From crafting value propositions that convert, to handling objections with confidence and closing deals that stick. This course builds the mindset, skill set, and systems of modern sales mastery. Whether you're growing a team or sharpening your own edge, Orbspec Sales Masterclass helps you sell smarter, not harder. Sales isn't a transaction. It's transformation. Learn, transform, succeed with Orbspec's 12-week masterclass. Contact Russell-John Fagan on 07664 10958 or email russell@orbspec.co.ca.